And so St. Louis has one of the oldest publicly owned water systems in the country. It's nearly 190 years old. And every day it delivers safe drinking water to hundreds of thousands of residents. But some are saying that aging infrastructure, rising costs, and years of budget deficits are really putting the system under serious financial strain. So this morning, the Water Division Special Assistant to the Commissioner, Spencer Gould, is joining us to talk about really what's happening, what this means for customers. I know that y'all really want to be transparent throughout all of this. So thank you so much for joining us, Spencer.
Thank you so much for having us.
Of course, First off, kind of blanket question. For people who may not realize really the scale of this system, can you briefly explain what the Water Division is responsible for?
Yeah, absolutely. The City of St. Louis Water Division is a municipally owned water system. So what that means, our mission is to safely, reliably, and economically provide water to all citizens in this City of St. Louis.
So y'all are going through something right now. You sent me, there's a lot of reports and stuff that y'all are kind of studying right now. And when I looked through that report, something y'all mentioned a lot was the aging infrastructure with our system.
Yes.
What's going on with that? Can you talk about it? I mean, 190 years old is wild.
Yeah, as you mentioned, 190 years old, one of the oldest municipal water systems in the entire country. But with that comes challenges. So as our system gets older, that leads to infrastructure issues. This year, for example, we've had the highest number of main breaks that we've had in, I think, over 7 years. And what that leads to is impacts to citizens. I think people are familiar with having a main break and not having water in their home. And so we went in front of the Board of Public Utilities to have a conversation with them about our aging infrastructure challenges and what we're doing to address that.
You know, and I think this has been, I know that you're new to this water division area. We just talked here in the city, but a couple of years ago, I covered where there were like weeks of water main breaks. And it seems to have been a problem for a while here in the St. Louis area. I know there have been board bills up about them. You know, why do you think this has been such an ongoing problem? Is it because of the infrastructure, because of how old it is? What is the root of this issue?
Yeah, I mean, it's a complicated issue. There's a lot of different things that contribute. I mean, seasonality is a big part of it. We're looking at some cold weather over the next couple days, and as freezing temperatures and things do lead to breaks. But also it's that aging infrastructure. There's a combination of deferred costs. In order to make up for our budget deficit, we've pushed back some ongoing proactive maintenance and things that we would do to hopefully lower that number. And because we push them off, I mean, the impact of that is sometimes some larger, more frequent breaks in areas that hopefully we would be able to address.
What are y'all pushing to see happen? What do you want to see happen to fix this? I know that's a big question, but
I think the big thing that you'll see from the Water Division is a larger capital improvement plan. So being able to have money set aside to proactively address those issues, address the areas that have the highest impact area or highest potential rate of failure. And so addressing those, the Water Division is looking at doing a master plan study to address which areas have the highest impact, as well as looking at rate sufficiency studies to address our financial situation so that we're in a situation to better address those challenges.
You know, I know a lot of times when people hear this, all they want to know is how it's going to impact their bills. So if we see these projects, are people in the city going to be paying more for their water? We have a pretty low rate right now.
We absolutely do have a low rate, but we do need to, as a water division, a municipally owned one, it is our responsibility to charge what it costs to run a system of this size. So, you know, we're looking at a rate sufficiency study that's done by a third party. We don't know, what's going to come out of that. However, we do feel like we have been in a deficit, and we're hoping to address that. That's kind of why we talked to the Public Infrastructure Committee last Wednesday, was to address some of those things and inform them.
Do you think these low rates we've had has contributed to this revenue gap we're seeing?
I think an ongoing gap between those rate increases has put us on our back foot. So we did have a rate increase in 2023, which was great. It did lead to increased rates, but that directly led to some efficiencies and things that we were able to implement in our plants to lower costs. And so when I talked about, deferred maintenance, one of the challenges is that, sometimes if you can put money up front, you can address those issues and actually make things cheaper in the long run.
Now, a lot of people right now are just struggling in general. Inflation's tough right now. They're struggling to pay a lot of their bills. What do y'all have available through the City of St. Louis's Water Division to help people out who are struggling to pay?
Yeah, I really appreciate you asking. I think the big thing we have right now is a customer assistance program. So we have a program right now. We actually increased eligibility to raise the income limits, and it provides $500 to any person to apply directly to their bill. We also have, for anyone not eligible for that program, a repayment structure that has no interest, there's no fees, it's very generous. If anyone's having issues, we'd love for them just to reach out to us, and we can work with our customer service team, and we'll do what we can to help anyone who's struggling to pay their water bills.
Is there anything else you want the community to know as we wrap up this interview in terms of next steps for y'all? How can they make their voice heard, all that good stuff?
Yeah, so this is going to be an ongoing process. I mean, we're going to be going and talking about this hopefully for the next couple of months, and we're dedicated to transparency. We really want to be open about this process. That's why I'm glad you're having us here today. And so I guess the big thing is if people have questions, to come to us. We have a web page on our website that will hopefully give a space for people to ask questions, and we really like the public to come to us, air their concerns, and we want to address those so people know that they're feeling heard.
And we appreciate the transparency. A, no one wants to pay more.
Yeah.
B, people want to know why. And C, if you've lived in the city of St. Louis like I have, we have water main breaks all the time, and that is just as frustrating as a higher bill, right?
Of course.
Yeah, when you're like, I can't use my water again.
Yeah, everyone, I think people assume, they think of water coming out of the faucet, but
Yeah.
it's a huge process to get that done.
Yeah.
And so we do what we can to provide it, but we hope that anytime someone turns that faucet on, it happens.
Yes.
And that's our mission. So.
That's y'all's whole goal, right?
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much,
Thank you,
Spencer. We
Mercedes.
appreciate it. We'll, of course, follow up with you guys as the story progresses.